whatnot. Okay, this is how Joe Rogan allegedly views my life. Okay, here we go. And I cannot help but think he's talking about me.
Wow, this is scary. Like, you can get so paranoid and so freaked out from THC that if you had a mind that was already in trouble,
that's right.
That's how I would perceive it. And I know of people, I know of one guy very clearly. There was a moment where it changed his life.
Yep.
It changed his life. He got a high dose edibles, and he's never been the same person. Never. And since then, he's gone further and further downhill, like flat earth, everything, like everything, all the above. He's, and you know, I haven't spoken to him in years, but he's out of his fucking mind now. Like, legitimately, and I don't know how much of it would have happened anyway.
Right.
But I do know that a large amount of it happened because of that one day.
Dear Big Bear, my name is Matthew. I'm 21 years old, and I'm currently in junior college. No, a junior in college. I found your content from Red Pill Rooster about 2 months ago. Nice, Red Pill Rooster. I went to BitChute to start watching your podcasts. You really changed my worldview, especially on pornography. Originally, I turned off your podcast because how dare you mock my porn, I must squirt. But I came back to watch and quickly learned how damaging and evil pornography is. Now I'm almost 2 months free of it. I cannot thank you enough for helping this sheep return to the flock of Jesus. You made Jesus and God cool again. Wow, thank you, Matthew. That's awesome. Honestly, good on this end. Nice. Family life was never something I took pride in. My mother was a coke addict and abandoned me and my father when I was 8 months old. I've never met my mother. I'm an only child and I grew up with wealth until 2008 when my father lost his job. He went back to college to become a nurse. I rarely saw him during his 6-year journey from RN to NP. This heavily affected my development and I grew to become addicted to pornography and masturbation. I was a fat kid who lived his life from squirt to squirt. As a young adult, I never wanted a family or a wife. I just wanted to F everything that walks and spend money on hookers and drugs. I've dated a lot of women, but often ruined it by falling in love and admitting it to them too soon. Something I suspect came from my lack of motherly love. Abandonment. Yeah, abandonment issues. My first few years of college, I was very promiscuous and smoked a shit ton of weed. Present day, I strive and starve to have a family, a loving wife, and a beautiful homestead. Your content has entirely changed my motivations. I've never been a part of a community, and I hope to call the bear community home. Life is difficult when you don't know any like-minded people, especially when everyone you know has taken the jab at ding-dong and can't wait to inject themselves with 5 more. I often stress out speculating on all the skills and knowledge I must acquire to start a homestead. Just get a couple chickens and a garden. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. All right, not to mention the money required too. Yeah, there is some costs to starting up. It depends on how big you want to go. There's zero cost if you just ask friends for like seeds. Everybody with plants has seeds. And then of course there's dirt and sunshine and soil. Then there might be nice people come in and say, yeah, but I've seen your raised beds and your greenhouse and all that. Yeah. No, I've went big with it. I put a huge part of my income towards homesteading, and I know a lot of people are not capable of doing that. That's why I consistently tell people how to do it without that type of focus. And a few chickens and some seeds and a windowsill, and you're good to go. But I always go big. I've always went big. I'm the big bear. All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Inch by inch is a cinch. Yard by yard is hard. Good one, sleep deprived bear. I often stress out. Oh yeah. How do you raise livestock? Don't worry about livestock. You're not at livestock. You just quit pornography. Forget about goats and cows. Just wipe it off the map. Chickens, plants. How do I grow my own food? Well, this is one of the beauties of YouTube. YouTube, for as many things that they seem so annoying about, it is a cornucopia of knowledge. You can look up anything you want on YouTube and learn anything to the point where it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know why we have all this knowledge now, but we do. How do I build all the necessary buildings and use all the necessary tools? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now. You have to enjoy learning. because no one's going to explain this stuff to you if you come in without even trying to learn. So try and fail. Try and fail. It's fun. I know that people with abandonment issues, and I've had that in my life. I understand. I'm not looking down at you. But you want someone else to do stuff for you, and that is not the fun of homesteading. The fun of homesteading is trying and failing and trying and failing and realizing failure isn't bad at all. It's just more knowledge. So I recommend you get excited about teaching yourself or like looking in books or looking on YouTube, and you'll be surprised how unbelievably organic it feels. Healthy, normal, obvious. The more you do it, the more you're like, of course this is what it is. You know? It feels like a massive tidal wave of requirements that I need to meet. No, bad attitude. The stress also is very motivational, almost like the feeling when you just start a long run. Good for you for not being fat anymore. I sometimes think of becoming a farmhand to learn vital knowledge. Now we're talking. Serve someone else in exchange for knowledge. No one's just going to tell you. I'm debt-free, V-free, and empowered with the love of Jesus. I'm just a little lost when it comes to starting this journey of having a homestead. Start small. Small. With as many children as God will give me. Start with a healthy relationship and then worry about children. Don't jump the gun. Don't go too quick. Scares women away. Don't homestead too quick. Your animals will die. Because if you have to understand how to take care of a chicken before a goat and then a goat before a cow. Some people just go for it, but I'm telling you, just understanding fencing is a whole thing. If you were a 21-year-old kid, well, you're a man. Let's change the vernacular. What would you do to achieve the life you have now? Crush. I want to build, plant, and foster an existence that I can pass on to my offspring for generations. Well, it sounds like you're off to a good start. Because you want to. Now, get excited about the learning and failing process. And also, don't look at a woman as like a baby machine. I know a lot of guys make that mistake. Look at her for her. Like a woman wants you to love her before she becomes the mother of your children. You want to be around her. You love her. You want to touch her. And start the bond with her before you start saying, I want 5 children and to please God. That is very intense for a woman, because if you don't have the bond first, it puts them in a very precarious situation. If any bears live in central or southern Ohio area and want to guide me and become a sort of mentor, please email me as nightwatchman45@protonmail.com. Thank you for keeping me straight and not a gay FS sodomite. Like all my friends, can I please be verified as Rock Climber Bear? Sounds like someone is not fat at all. Welcome, Rock Climber Bear. May God bless you and your family, Rock Climber Bear. That's awesome. Let me read these super chats, and then I will get into Joe the Toe. Okay, no, let's do Joe the Toe first, because let's compare it to how that man, views my life, right? He says he watched me, he quit pornography, he wants to get into homesteading and whatnot. Okay, this is how Joe Rogan allegedly views my life. Okay, here we go. And I cannot help but think he's talking about me.
Wow, this is scary. Like, you can get so paranoid and so freaked out from THC that if you had a mind that was already in trouble, that's right. That's how I would perceive it. And I know of one guy very clearly. There was a moment where it changed his life. Yep. It changed his life. He got a high dose edibles, and he's never been the same person. Never. And since then, he's gone further and further downhill. Like flat earth, everything, like everything, all the above. He's, I haven't spoken to him in years, but he's out of his fucking mind now. Like, legitimately, and I don't know how much of it would have happened anyway. Right. But I do know that a large amount of it happened because of that one day. Yes.
Let's do some fact checking, Joe the Toe. First off, I did his show 2 times after Joey Diaz allegedly dosed me with high volumes of THC. He's calling me paranoid, allegedly, but yet he won't say my name. Everyone knows who he's talking about. Haven't spoken to him in years. High dose, went crazy. This is the narrative they tried to spin around me. So if he really believed that, why doesn't he call the police on Joey Diaz? Because isn't that grievous bodily harm he inflicted on me? Would I not be able to sue him for years of lost income? Because apparently I went insane. He doesn't even believe it. He's lying again. And I think what happened is, because for those of you that don't know, about 4 years ago, I ate an edible on Joey Diaz's Church of What's Happening called the Star of Death, which was like 200 milligrams of THC. And I'm not a marijuana smoker. I have in the past, but I was not aware of a level that wild. So as I'm doing Joey Diaz's podcast, he's like, yo, dog, yo, dog. I literally start seeing him as some form of demon. The amount of THC that was in that edible was so strong that during the podcast, true story, you can go watch it, I wanted to get some air as he's going, and then I left and I never went back. And I went home to Amy, and I was not right for about a day and a half. And then I'm fine. That's how it works. And so if Joe Rogan really believes that I went crazy because of an edible, why does he promote edibles, DMT, all that stuff on his show? I've never done DMT. I've never done ayahuasca. I've never engaged in the type of drug culture that he promotes. And I know why he's all nasty and silly right now. It's because I was just on Sam Tripoli's podcast called Tinfoil Hat, and we all had a big laugh at how short and dumb and gay Joe Rogan is. That probably made its way back to him because he's still connected on some level to Sam Tripoli, and he got really butthurt right in his little anus. And so if he's going to call me crazy or insane, he first has to define sane. Is sane a grown man who scribbles on his arms in permanent marker like Joe the Toe? His entire body is covered in drawings. Is a sane society the one that pays money to go into a black box called a movie theater and watch recreations of men blowing up other men and smashing their faces and killing and raping? And as they're doing it, they're eating candy where on the label it tells you that it's full of cancer-causing chemicals. And you sit next to complete strangers. You cry, you get scared, you jump, you experience emotional trauma, and then you leave the black box and look around as if that was a great idea, and then you do it again and again and again. Is a sane world? So if I'm insane, that means sane is thinking it's good to marginalize mothers, act like a stay-at-home mom is somehow a failure, but yet those to be celebrated in society are liars and addicts who recreate sin on screens to program the youth. One of the largest franchises in movie history is Fast and the Furious, and the entire movie, all the movies are about how great stealing cars are. Joe the Toe Rogan has glorified drugs, sodomy, pornography, debt, war, all under the guise that he's somehow masculine. And so this masculine man, who I will argue is extremely feminine to feel like I'm scary, that I'm crazy, that somebody laughing at him means he has to take these little passive-aggressive jabs. He's allowed on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Spotify and all these places that he knows I'm banned from. So this great man, this powerful Joe Rogan, is going to take a little jab, a little shot at a guy he knows can't speak out back to him. I can, by creating our own platforms, which is not the act of a crazy person. And so I just wanted to share that because that to me is wild. And he looks like shit. Okay? If he stopped taking HGH or steroids for a day, he'd look like a shorter Rosie O'Donnell. He would just explode because I believe his body no longer makes testosterone or HGH because he's been pumping it into his body for decades. And so for those people that always said he lives rent-free in my head and I'm so envious, why is he still thinking about me all these years later? Why does he bring me up to people on his podcast if I'm so crazy? He's had, 5, 6 friends commit suicide in the last 3 years, but yet I'm the crazy one? Someone who strives for life? Someone without a suicidal thought in his mind ever? Someone who loves his family, grows his own food, promotes his community, offers humor in times of despair, ingenuity in times of American attack. That's the crazy one, Joe? Someone that did the jokes that Dave Chappelle is now being supported for and coddled 5 years ago and suffered for it, for my art. Joe the Toe Rogan has pictures of what's that guy's name? Lenny Bruce on his wall because he wants people to think that he's a truth teller like Lenny Bruce. Joe Rogan lies and lies and lies, and look at his eyes. Guys, look at Joe Rogan's eyes. You see those eyes? I've seen those eyes before. Does anyone know where they've seen those eyes? Oh, yeah. It's a goddamn panda bear eye. I proposed months ago that not only is something very fishy happening around panda bears, but they may or may not be drunk midgets with suits on, pretending to be an endangered species that won't fuck to save themselves. Sound familiar, Joe the Toe? Look at those eyes. When you have to wear the panda suit for that long, Joe, to get your 100 million lollipops that you love licking on the corner, sometimes your eyes reveal exactly what you do on the weekends. Now, let's watch what he says about me, allegedly me, one more time. And we all know exactly who he's talking about, and we all know exactly why. Because a bunch of comics were laughing at little Joe. They were laughing at Joe. Look at his arms. He scribbles pictures of demons all over his body that he can't wash off. He injects himself with human growth hormone and steroids so that his body looks unnaturally muscular. Look at him. His backdrop looks like it's one of those steakhouses where you throw the peanuts on the floor, where they like come out with a plate of sizzling food, like it's like sizzling, and they put it down right in front of you, and you think you're gonna burn your hands, like Outback Steakhouse. Joe the Toe Rogan, the gatekeeper of masculine comedy. And some people might say, but Big Bear, he lives rent-free in your head. Why do you bring him up? Because he's the little dragon gatekeeper sitting on male comedy, mainstream male comedy. He is the guy that's supposed to show everybody the line that no one's allowed to cross. And that's why he tried to take me under his little dragon's wing and tell me what tweets I wasn't allowed to say. And I remember exactly what tweets they were, because at the time I thought he was doing me a favor. At the time I thought he was my buddy. I thought he was my friend. I thought that he was there to help me. And he said that I should not say, I'm not for slavery, but it would be funny if it came back just so Sean King admits he's white. That was somehow off the table for Joe the Toe. That doesn't age very well, does it, Joe? That's why the 3 interviews he did with me are all off Spotify. They're off YouTube. They've been taken down. Of all the things that he could be censored for, saying he wants to have sex with Jesus, and how he talks to DMT elves, and how Brian Callen likes to fuck and come in girls that he doesn't know and run away, how all these things that he loves to talk about, all the gay homoerotic bullshit with all his little butt boy buddies, he doesn't delete any of those. He deletes me. Why? Because it's so obviously wrong. And now, a guy that is a community builder, a father, a husband, a healthy dude, doing the best he can in a time of censorship, despair, wickedness, tyranny, that I've stood strong legally, help people avoid violence, help people not get mad at quote unquote them, whoever they may be, Help people reconnect to God inside you. And he's going to say that he's not the drug addict with mental damage because of his drug use. No, it's me. The guy that had one edible and then did his show after, and he had no problem with me then. It's once I started pointing out who he really was.
Wow, this is scary.
Scary.
Like you can get so paranoid and so freaked out from THC that if you had a mind that was already in trouble. That's right. That's
So my mind was in trouble. A headlining comedian who owns property in Los Angeles, repped at CAA, repped at Principato Young Management, same manager as Key and Peele, same agent as Will Ferrell. I'm on the wall at the Improv. I'm friends with everybody. I had no history whatsoever of mental illness. Very high IQ, very smart person, close with my family, rescue dogs and all of the rest. Okay, so I was somehow at risk because of my mental state, Joe. Look at your eyes, Panda Bear. And how do I scare you? I'll tell you why I scare you, Joe. It's because I say the truth.
I would perceive it. And I know of people, I know of one guy
Of all the guys he knows, of all the sex rituals and drug-induced mania he's been a part of, the one guy that he knows that really lost it from drugs is a guy who doesn't do drugs. A guy who not only doesn't do drugs, but his life drastically improved after leaving Los Angeles. It wouldn't be because that guy makes fun of your height, would it, Joe? That's very, very feminine of you. Feminine. For being a male gatekeeper, you might not want to act so fucking gay. All right? And keep scribbling demons on your arms. And then injecting growth hormone that comes from China. God only knows what animal or human they get that from. Human growth hormone. Where do you get it from, Joe? He injects it into arms he scribbled demons on that he can't wash off. Look at him. Look at him. And he is going to imply that I was the one with a weak mind. A guy who can play Bach by ear. A guy who can think very clearly, a guy who can learn more skills, a guy that the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people witnessed, unable to build a ramp for my son. This should help Rock Climber Bear. I couldn't build a ramp for my son's monster truck. It fell apart. And within a few short years, I was building giant greenhouses with metal frames. Okay, that's my ability to adapt, overcome, and learn. Is that the sign of an unwell mind? The sign of a woman who's given me 3 beautiful children under 5 and is excited for a 4th as we homestead? Does that sound to you like I'm the weak drug addict, Joe? Let's try it again. Look at the demon scribbles on his arms. Fire-breathing skulls.
Wow, this is scary.
Scary.
Like you can get so
Joe Rogan's scared of me. Little old me.
paranoid and so freaked out from THC that if you...
Paranoid. Like, kind of like when the entire theater industry in America all kicked me out and wouldn't let me perform because of the jokes he chastised on his show that 99% of the population would find hilarious. In a capitalist free market America, theaters that I would sell out, all tickets sold. They would say I wasn't allowed to perform because I offended people. Okay, my wife isn't allowed to rent out a property on Airbnb. She has no criminal history. I have no criminal history. Airbnb lets you film gay porn. Okay. Patreon, in writing, said I was no longer welcome on the platform because of my Pound Me Too joke and how it marginalized victims of sex abuse. Victims kind of like your buddy Brian Callen may know, Joe. Actual sex abuse, not jokes that give them levity in times of despair. I've had people write to me that they didn't kill themselves because of the comedy, because they were so dark. And they felt that someone being able to laugh at it some of these victims, actual victims, people that your friends may have actually hurt, Joe, allegedly, why on earth would I be a little bit paranoid? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong. Listen to this little man, and then I'll move on.
Wow, this is scary. Like,
Scary.
You can get so paranoid. And
Guys, he lisped. Listen to this. He goes, this is scary. Listen, it's demonic.
wow, this is scary. Like, you can get so paranoid and so freaked out from THC that if you had a mind that was already in trouble,
That's right.
That's how I would perceive it. And I know of people, I know of one guy very clearly. There was a moment where it changed.
But that moment, bear in mind, I was on his show after that moment, and he didn't speak up about the moment. He didn't say, hey, Owen, you've gotten pretty crazy here. No, that isn't what happened.
His life. Yep. It changed his life. He got a high dose edibles, and he's never been the same person. Never. And since then, he's gone further.
Joe doesn't even know me. Joe knows me from being on his show 3 times. He said they were some of the best episodes he's ever done. He texted me like a giddy little bitch after my first episode. He goes, I'm listening to it over and over again. It's so good. I can't wait to have you back on. It's so funny. You're so smart. Why don't you come under the dragon's wing? And then the next one, he's like, wow, that was really incredible. Can't wait to do it again. You're such a genius. So funny, so effortless. You're so talented.
Further downhill, like flat earth, everything, like all the.
How does Eddie Bravo think of that? How Eddie Bravo, one of his quote-unquote best friends, a diehard flat earther. There's millions and millions of flat earthers, quote-unquote flat earthers, whatever that even means. People that question NASA's narrative. Why would you question NASA's narrative, Joe? Am I paranoid for wondering? Operation Paperclip, which brought confirmed Nazis to America to start a space agency with Walt Disney. The guy who started JPL is a confirmed black magician. Aleister Crowley, the guy who started Scientology, and another black magician started an organization that has never provably done anything besides warp people's minds. All right? Why would I question their model of the earth and not... The biblical model is not a spinning ball. It's never said it's a spinning ball. Physically, you can show that there's not 8 inches per mile squared. You can do all kinds of mind exercises and thought experiments, and then you can go actually prove it with a P900 camera, Joe. Okay, so that to you is insane. So what exactly is sane? To get your worldview from confirmed Satanists, Nazis, and a guy who specializes in drawing a mouse that goes, so you got Walt Disney, Nazis, Werner von Braun, who was in the, not just a Nazi, not like the German army. A lot of those guys were based. Just good guys, SS officers. I know some of you guys are like, oh, how dare you? They were fighting for Germany. No. SS officers, a lot of those guys were real fucked up. Real fucked up. So Werner von Braun, an SS officer, real leather-oriented, real daddy, real magic-y, real gay. So those guys come to American Operation Paperclip, and they start an organization with Aleister Crowley and Walt Disney, a guy who's known for animating illusions. Why would we possibly... It's insane to question their world model. That's odd. Look at his panda bear eyes.
All the above. He's,
all of the above. What exactly does that mean as he stutters? All of the above, what? So flat earth and then all of the above. What does that mean? What? Questioning evolution, questioning the dinosaur narrative, questioning nuclear bombs? Which one would you actually want to discuss, Joe? Or do you just want to promote drugs and sodomy and pornography on the youth and then act like a scared little bitch when someone sees through your lies?
Spoken to him in years, but he's out of his fucking mind now.
If you haven't spoken to me in years, why am I still on your mind? And why do you say I'm out of mine? Because I don't trade my word or my morality for money? Because I don't want to scribble on my arms and inject steroids into my dick? Because I don't want to live a fake life and be approved by satanic monsters who wouldn't know a good joke if it bit them in their steroid-infested ass? That's why I'm out of my mind, because I won't wear a mask to go to one of your shows, because I won't vaccinate to go to one of your shows. And then you go up there and rant about how you're against tyranny when your entire audience has to be vaccinated to watch this little man, this little midget lie? Really? Really, Joe?
Like, legitimately, and I don't know how much of it would have happened anyway. Right. But I do know that a large amount of it happened because of that one day. Yes.
Yeah, he's so concerned. Just that one day, just eating one edible that he promotes religiously. He tells people to take edibles and go into a weightless tank where they can then see, the universe and all this bullshit. Look at this.
And I know of other people, too, that I think it happened to them, too. Toe to toe. I mean, that.
And here's another very interesting aspect, and then I'll move on. Only one guy sent that to me. One. Back in the day when he used to imply shit about me or directly talk shit or whatever, I'd get hundreds of people. Oh, how dare you? No. People that still watch me all the time don't send me his clips anymore because no one watches. Oh, how dare you? He's so influential. All the brainwashed people, that's not who the grabber's paying for their souls, their consciousness. Those aren't creative people, all right? When you have your giant gatekeepers, Don Lemon, Don Lemon, these people, they're not that valuable. What's really valuable is when you gatekeep creative people with the divine spark in them. That's what's really valuable. And Joe the Toe was always great at delivering that because he would sell the illusion that he was masculine, that he was a hunter, that he was against censorship, that he was for the little man, that he looked at alternative medicines, nutrition, that he could do stand-up comedy and shoot an elk with a bow and arrow. And that attracts high-quality men. You'd be surprised, but there was a time when it did. He also questioned the moon landing effectively and brilliantly before it appears he was paid off by, I don't know.
I'm available, okay? If you show me all the real wreckage, I swear to God, I will make fun of that crap to the end of time. I will make fun of that crap to the end of time. I'll make up stories. I'll lie to my mother. I don't care. You show me a UFO, I'll lie to my mother.